The lecture hall shimmered with the faint glow of crystalline lights suspended above rows of tiered seats, filled with young alien cadets from across the stars. Their scaled, feathered, and chitinous faces reflected curiosity mixed with amusement as a holographic projection of a blue-green planet spun lazily in the air. Earth, the human homeworld, rotated slowly, continents highlighted in pale gold, storms swirling across the oceans. Snickers rippled through the chamber as one student with glistening antennae leaned forward and muttered, "How could a species from such a chaotic, savage world have ever survived, let alone joined the galactic community?" Another with translucent wings joined in, mocking the primitive predators that apparently coexisted with humans, laughing at the absurdity of living where venomous creatures hid in grass or storms could flatten entire cities overnight. The air thickened with ridicule until the professor, a tall being with luminous eyes and skin patterned like polished stone, lifted a hand and the room fell silent. The hologram expanded, displaying scenes not of beauty but of brutality, volcanoes spitting fire into the sky, oceans unleashing tsunamis that swallowed whole coastlines, frozen wastelands stretching for endless kilometers, deserts shimmering with deadly heat. The professor's voice resonated like a chime striking deep metal as he asked, "Why does the galaxy whisper the word Deathworld when they speak of Earth?" The cadets leaned closer, their eyes narrowing with curiosity, laughter fading but still lurking at the edges of their mouths. The professor let the silence build until the side door opened with a soft hiss. The cadets turned, expecting another lecturer, but the figure who stepped through the threshold made their breath catch. He was human, though the word did not fully capture the presence he carried into the chamber. His gait was steady, but each step echoed like the weight of gravity itself. His face bore scars, a long white line tracing across his cheek, another mark pulling at the corner of his brow. His left arm was wrapped in a flexible synthetic brace, the kind worn after battlefield wounds. The students who had moments before ridiculed his kind now found themselves shifting uneasily, wings folding tighter, antennae twitching nervously, scaled tails coiling around legs. He stood at the center of the hall and gazed at them with dark eyes that had seen more than textbooks could ever teach. "You laugh at Earth," he said, his voice carrying without amplification, steady and sharp. "You think we are foolish for living on a world that spits storms, poisons, beasts, and hunger at us every single day. But let me tell you why every species that ever met us remembers the name Deathworlder." He gestured toward the hologram, and it changed from serene rotation to living chaos. Jagged lightning split the skies of tropical jungles. Vast predators lunged from murky waters, eyes gleaming in the dark. The roar of wind, the crack of ice, the scream of fire filled the chamber's audio systems, so vivid that some cadets flinched and covered their auditory slits. "We learned to walk under a gravity that would crush your bones to powder," he continued, "and we did it while predators stalked us, while diseases bled us, while the earth itself shook beneath our feet. We fought not only the world but one another, because survival was never enough for us. We built cities on floodplains, we climbed mountains where the air is too thin for lungs, we crossed oceans on fragile wood, and when storms shattered our ships, we built stronger ones." The professor watched silently, his luminous eyes gleaming with approval, while the cadets shifted, no longer laughing but listening, spellbound. One student, braver than the others, raised a trembling appendage and asked softly why anyone would stay on such a place. Why not flee, as their own ancestors had done when their homeworld turned hostile? The human looked at the student as though he had asked why one breathes. "Because it is ours," he said. "Because every struggle forged us into what we are. You call it a death world. We call it home." His words lingered in the air like thunder long after the storm had passed, and the cadets, once smug and mocking, sat in silence, their gazes fixed on the scarred man who had walked out of the fire of his world and into their classroom. The lesson had only begun, but already they understood that Earth was not merely dangerous, it was a crucible that had shaped its children into beings who bore death in their marrow and survival in their souls. The silence in the hall stretched long after the human's last words had faded. The cadets sat stiff in their seats, eyes fixed on him as if the scars on his face might move again and tell them more than they were ready to hear. The professor finally cleared his throat, a sound like gravel grinding over stone, and addressed the class. "Today you will not read from your archives. Today you will listen. The man standing before you has lived through conditions no simulation can fully replicate. His survival alone is proof of why Earth is marked in red on every navigational chart." The hologram shifted once more, displaying not storms or volcanoes this time but a dense jungle alive with sound. The human's lips curled faintly, not quite a smile, more a recognition. "This was where I grew up," he said. A place where every step could slice your skin with hidden thorns or sink you into mud that swallowed legs whole. Where insects carried sickness in their wings, and the sound you thought was just the forest was often something waiting to hunt you. The cadets leaned forward involuntarily, their hearts pounding at the thought of being dropped into such a place. One with wings muttered a prayer to the ancestors under her breath. But that was only the beginning, the man continued. Beyond the forests were deserts that burned the ground until even shadows seemed alive. You cannot imagine heat that melts metal left too long in the sun. And yet we crossed them on foot, carrying water on our backs, guided only by stars. If a storm came, we dug into the sand itself and prayed to live until dawn. He paused, his eyes drifting over the young faces. On your worlds, survival means eating what is given and resting where the climate welcomes you. On mine, survival means fighting every hour of every day. And not just against nature, but against ourselves. The hologram changed again, now showing a battlefield scarred with trenches and smoke, soldiers in primitive armor clashing with iron blades, others in later times firing rifles as thunder rolled through the sky. The cadets flinched at the explosions, wings snapping shut, antennae curling tight, some instinctively shielding their faces. The human did not blink. We are not proud of every war we fought. Many were foolish, many cruel. But each one taught us something no safe world could ever teach. That the will to survive is not just about enduring the planet, it is about enduring each other. We learned unity through fire, discipline through blood, and resilience through loss. A student with crystalline scales raised a trembling claw. But why fight so much? Why not choose peace? The human looked at him with something like pity. We do choose peace, he said softly, but peace means nothing unless you know the cost of losing it. On Earth, peace is not a gift, it is a victory. When you eat a meal in safety, it is because someone built walls to keep the predators out. When you sleep without fear, it is because your people defended the ground you sleep on. Peace without struggle is fragile. Peace after struggle is unbreakable. The jungle hologram gave way to a storm-racked sea. Towering waves slammed against fragile wooden ships, lightning splitting the heavens. The human's voice lowered, drawing them deeper in. We sailed on oceans that would swallow whole fleets. We lost thousands, tens of thousands, to storms and to hunger. Yet still we sailed, because we could not accept the boundaries the world set for us. We built ships from nothing and learned to master winds that once tried to kill us. And when that was not enough, we built engines to defy the sea itself. You look at us and call us reckless. But I tell you, everything we have, every step we've taken to the stars, came from never accepting what nature told us we could not do. The professor folded his hands behind his back, his stone-like skin gleaming under the soft light. His eyes moved over his students, many of whom now looked shaken, their arrogance gone. He gave a small nod to the human, as if urging him to continue, and the man's gaze hardened again. So tell me, cadets. You laugh at Earth. You call us Deathworlders. But ask yourselves, if you had been born there, would you be sitting here today? Or would the first storm, the first hunger, the first predator have ended your story before it began? No one answered. The silence was heavier now, not from disdain but from a weight of understanding. For the first time, the cadets realized that the word Deathworld was not an insult. It was a truth, a warning, and perhaps even a mark of reverence.